Welcome to Speaking of Love, the podcast, with your host, Latoya. This podcast was created as a platform for spreading love. Welcome to Speaking of Love, the podcast, and I am your host, Latoya. I created this podcast in honor of my dad, who was an amazing guy. He had an infectious laugh, and his spirit was magnetic. He was the type of guy who made everybody feel like somebody special. If you were to place him in a crowded room of 100 people, my dad would be the smartest person in the entire room. He was an award-winning radio TV broadcast engineer for many years. Born and raised in the city of Detroit, he was one of the first to go to college in his family. And while attending Wayne State University, he developed a lifelong love affair with the game of basketball. He was the shortest point guard on the team, but he could slam dunk the basketball with either hand. By all outward appearances, my dad lived a rewarding life, but there were parts of him that were known to only him. On March 2nd of 2020, my dad's private struggles became public when he took his own life in a murder-suicide. When he died, a part of me died too. And since the tragedy, I have become an advocate for mental health awareness and suicide prevention. I also created this beautiful podcast in honor of my dad and others like him who are struggling with the effects of mental health challenges. My podcast, Speaking of Love, is named after a show my dad once hosted called Speaking of Sports. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me today as we take a journey in pursuit of the strongest magnetic force on the planet Earth, and that's love. My name is Latoya Bond, and I have a podcast called Speaking of Love. My podcast is dedicated to the memory of my dad who took his own life in a murder-suicide. Aside from that, I am a business owner. I have a home-based business. I am also a legal professional during my 9-to-5 day. And I am a person who operates her entire life on the premise of spreading love. It's the secret to my success. It's the secret to my longevity on this earth, and it's what keeps us going because love is the thing that makes all things beautiful. So that's why I'm here today to talk about my favorite subject in the whole wide world, and that's love. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Speaking of Love, the podcast. I am your host, Latoya. I am here today with a beautiful young lady by the name of Ayanna Pope. She is here as my guest for my 138th episode today. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction of Mrs. Ayanna so that you can all understand why she's here today and the purpose of our interview. Ayanna is a 3-time author and co-author of one book. In addition, Ayanna is the CEO and founder of Ascended Volition L3C, Silverline Radio, and Paradigm Television Network. Her passion and hope for mankind is that through safe, supportive, and skilled community, that every person, regardless of their walk of life, will be able to present themselves to the world as healed, confident, progressive, and purposely fulfilled as a human being. Thank you so much for being here today, Ayanna. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Latoya.
Thank you. Yes, you and we've been friends on Facebook for quite a while now, and I've seen your work, and you recently reached out to me about being here on the podcast. And so here we are, and I'm very happy to have you. You're very, how can I say this? You are a universal woman. You have lots of different accolades behind your name, and I'm very proud to have you here. So, we're going to take the interview and we're going to start off with your early years. What was life like for you when you were growing up as a young girl?
As a young girl, I would say that I was one who I was a daddy's girl. I was the youngest. I'm the youngest of four siblings, and I was always off playing somewhere because all of my older siblings, they were 5, 10, 13 years older than me. So they were all doing their own thing. And I was over here just kind of playing around. I always found myself in my dad's lap watching him create art pieces. He paints and draws and does all that kind of thing. I was very much close to music. My mom, she taught all of us to sing. And so between the two, art and music, they just kind of came together, creating this creative person,
Mhm.
spiritual and creative person. And so, yeah, I guess that's where all of what I do comes from. The vision, having imagination and bringing things to life, watching that process. And so I guess you would say that I kind of implemented that later on in my life in its own form.
That's beautiful. So, you have written three books.
Yes.
Talk to me about the very first book you've written and the inspiration behind it.
Yes. So my first book was Living from Fullness, Acting Empty. The Perfect Love Story for the Bruised is a subtitle. That was in a very challenging yet transitional and pivotal moment in my life where have you ever just felt full of potential, full of purpose, but there's nothing around you? And so I had to really break through, even through my writing, break through some of those roadblocks that keeps that purpose from coming out. We all have experienced a measure of life, hard or easy, and throughout time, we take different perceptions based off of what we experience, what we feel, and sometimes that hinders our progress, that hinders the outflow of things where we can enjoy that purposeful life. And so I talk about those roadblocks and help people break through them internally so that they can live outwardly free and fulfilled.
So, how long did it take you to write the book?
So funny story. And I'll make it very short. When I was writing that book, it was going in a completely different direction. It was going in a completely different direction. While I was writing that book, life was yet happening. Life was yet happening, and so as life was yet happening, and all of these, just things were coming up, my book took a turnaround. And so I honestly had to revisit everything that I wrote and with God write the book. And I didn't I'm one of those people. At first it started off as me writing it based off of what I thought the book should be about. But as life was happening, I was like, okay, no, we have to go back and do this the way I want it to be done. And so it really took a turn. So to answer your question, um, it was maybe a little less than a year. It probably wasn't a whole year, but yeah, because of that, it really did turn things around and cause it to be a little bit more stretched out.
So, how about your second book? What was the second book that you wrote?
The second book was "The Beast Hidden in the Beauty of Success."
Okay.
The Beast Hidden in the Beauty of Success. I know it's a bit of a play on words. We used to Beauty and the Beast, but at that time in my life, people were beginning to see the fruit of just my perseverance and things like that. They see the fruit of success, but they don't know what goes into it, with the challenges that come along the way of getting there.
Hmm.
So I talk about some of those hurdles that may cause people to basically to let people know, hey, if you want to be successful, if you want to accomplish your goals and your dreams, these are some of the things that you're going to face, and this is how you're going to have to some of the tools that you'll need to overcome them so that you can get to the success. So It was called The Beast Hidden in the Beauty of Success. And that took maybe about 6 months.
And what about your third book?
Symptoms of Greatness. Symptoms of Greatness was my third book that was actually released last year, July.
Mm-hmm.
Symptoms of Greatness, that speaks on something that I believe so many go through, and I know that I definitely did. Before you recognize greatness as greatness, you sometimes think something's wrong with you. You often, because you think differently. You think outside of the box. You're not a person that could be fit inside of a box. And so before you get to realizing that, hey, this is greatness inside of me, this is a great thing that's on the inside of me, you misdiagnose yourself, or you allow other people to misdiagnose you because you don't quite understand what's going on inside.
Mm-hmm.
That's causing you to stay up late at night. That's causing you to have all these out of the box ideas. And so I start to talk about those symptoms of greatness so that we can begin to properly identify ourselves and not mislabel ourselves, or even just stay in secluded dark places because we think something's wrong. No, everything is
Exactly.
more right with you than you believe.
Well, in order to achieve all of this, Ayanna, you have to have greatness inside of you. So, at what point did you discover your greatness?
I would have to say I've always felt it, but before I understood it, I I took on the wrong beliefs about them, and sometimes that's projected by off of others. What people don't understand, they mislabel, or what people don't understand, they misuse. But that came throughout just my process of walking things out. You know, I think the good thing about feeling something on the inside, and then if you're a spiritual person having a relationship with God, I would say I'm that person. God kind of reveals layer by layer His intentions for your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that just came with me walking it out through time. I ended up getting in school. I do counseling, so I ended up getting in school, and I ended up discovering so much about everything, everything, and it just brought more clarity and definition to what really was to be for my life and what I'm supposed to be about.
That's beautiful, Ayanna.
Thank
You
you.
are a woman of faith. I've watched your work. How has your relationship with God, your spiritual journey,
Mhm.
helped you achieve the goals that you have achieved?
So it works hand in hand. I believe that we can only be as much as we actually experience. And my experience with God is that He wants everybody to be a part of life. And whatever form or fashion that you are to be a part of it, you're worth something. At the bottom line, you're worth something. So it's about finding out what your thing or things are, what your gifts are, and allowing God to use that. So I would say that my experience with God is seeing the truth that, one, everybody is worth something.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has something, even if they don't know it or understand it yet. And then once you get in the vein of what your gift or your calling is, can't nobody do it like you. They may have somebody else may have something similar that they can do, or they may have the same kind of gift as you, but your DNA, the unique person that you are, it can't be done again. Just
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to understand that we are all unique, we are all useful, purposeful, but we are all our individual fingerprint. Like nobody has the same fingerprint. So we just have to know that and be confident in that and not be intimidated by others, not be insecure about what we have because it looks different from somebody else's. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you can't covet other people's gifts. Like, just be comfortable in your lane and know that you have value. You're right where you're supposed to be. You're just the way that you're supposed to be, and take it from there.
Yes, comparing yourselves to other is definitely a big way to self-sabotage. I know a lot of people are really into social media, and we log on to our social media accounts, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and we see people living lives that we would hope to live as well, but we can't compare ourselves because we really don't know as you mentioned earlier, what it takes to get to that level of
Yeah.
success, what
Yeah.
it takes to achieve the vacations and the marriages and things of that nature. So
Yeah.
you're definitely on point with that. With that,
Amen. Thank you.
I love your perspective. So talk to me about Paradigm Television.
Yep.
I
Television network.
yes, and Silverline Radio. I am not familiar with those. Help me.
Yes. So, well, Silverline Radio came first.
Mhm.
So Silverline Radio, the slogan for that is bringing light, bringing life, bringing truth. We are Silverline Radio. Um, at,
Aw.
at that time, that was 2018 when that was established, and I was yet on my journey. I'm still on my journey, but in that point of my journey, being in the counseling field, seeing how much the things that we listen to and the things that we watch impact us,
Mhm.
be it how we feel or how we perceive things, how we interact or don't interact with people. I felt that there was enough of the other stuff that makes us feel inferior, or makes us feel like we're lacking, or makes us feel like we're missing something. It was enough of that. So I said, okay, I'll let that be that and do this thing, which is helping people know the truth about
Mm.
who they are, bringing light into their path, because we're, you know, if you have lived more than a day, there's all kinds of challenges that you go through. There's all kinds of things that you'll face in this world. But do we have the tools to know how to live this life?
Mhm.
And so I always say to people, we're all born, but we don't all come with a manual unless you're, a person of the word, and that helps us out a lot. But if you don't have any kind of manual, you just left to wander. And so I wanted to be in that vein of giving people truth through various hosts on the Silverline Radio, and shedding light so people can know how to live, and know how to function in this life. So I just wanted a whole different stream. we all know about the other stuff, but we need to know how to live this thing.
And I think that's so beautiful, Ayanna, because you're sharing this based on your lived experiences. So any person can go before a group of people and provide a perspective. But
Yeah,
if you haven't lived and walked and breathed those experiences,
yeah,
it's kind of difficult for people to relate to you in that regard. So
yeah.
that's absolutely beautiful. I love how you have taken your life and you're using it as an instrument to enhance the lives of other people. That is so beautiful. And really that's why we're here on this earth, is to help each other. We're here for the benefit of mankind, not just for ourselves.
Yes, and the key, and I would say the key is not allowing ourselves to be hardened by life.
Mhm. Yes.
Things can happen to us, but we can choose whether or not we're going to be hardened by it. And I really admire your story that, before the show began, I feel like we're in the same kind of flow, because
Mhm.
hard things happen to us, but we have to make a decision not to be hardened by life, and to use it in such a way that is helpful. It's helpful to people. It builds people up. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of building people up, if it wasn't for people like you, Ayana, who inspire me and challenge me to be better, I don't know where I would be. So your work is definitely a tool to help people like me get beyond the pain and grief and things of that nature. So,
Yeah.
it can reach far distances. If you just keep going.
Amen. Thank you. And you're doing the same thing. You're doing the
Yeah,
same thing. I felt so empowered and uplifted just listening to your story. And it's beautiful that you chose this way. You chose
thank
this way. So I commend you as well.
Thank you. Now there's a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt that you stand by this quote. And
Mhm.
the quote is, happiness is not a goal, it is a byproduct of a life well lived. Talk to me about why that resonates with you.
It resonates with me because, we when people say happiness, sometimes people are chasing happiness. Like
Mm.
you buy a lot of things, you're chasing it. But if you really just dig your feet in the sand, just dig your feet in the sand and do what you know that you are called to do. If God puts something on your heart, if He gives you a vision, if you dig your feet in the ground and just get to work, you'll be happy. You matter of fact, you'll be more than happy. You'll be joyful. You have joy. You have peace. You'll be content because you're right where you're supposed to be, doing
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So I think happiness is a byproduct of a life just simply well lived. We don't all have the same hand in life. Sometimes we can envy others because they have a better hand in life than what we have. But if you work your hand, if you work your hand, regardless of the cards that you've been dealt, you can be happy and you can be joyful and you can have peace and all that other stuff because you chose to engage with what you do have and make good use of it.
That's right. Correct. Yes. And
Yeah.
I know sometimes with happiness, your emotions have to precede the way you really feel. So, for example, if somebody says, "Hi, Latoya, how are you doing today?" I could be having a very stressful day. I've got a list of things I need to do. My to do list is 50 pages long. And I'll just say, "Oh, I'm having a wonderful day. I am just on point. Everything's good." And it's like just by making that statement, the happiness will follow because I've already put it into my subconscious mind that I'm happy today in
Mhm.
spite of all this. So yeah, you're correct.
What my experience has been, there's been times that one, we definitely have to own how we feel. We definitely have to own where we are. But my experience in addition to that is sometimes you do have to do things by faith to bring that thing forth. So
Mm-hmm.
no, I don't feel happy right now. No, I don't know. I don't feel the greatest, but by faith, I'm gonna make this move because I know what the inside of me says. Make
Mm-hmm.
this move, and I believe that the rest of it will follow. I will be happy. I will be fulfilled. I will be content because I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so it's like owning where you are, the truth of your feelings, um not doing everything your feelings say, but acknowledging that you that you feel that way, but still being disciplined enough to do what you should do, what it requires for you to do, so that though all those other good things can come out after you do it. So
Mm-hmm.
that takes some real maturity and discipline to do it, but if you're committed, it'll definitely show the fruit.
Wow, that's beautiful. Ayanna, you have really made a lot of positive impact in people's lives. You're helping others. You're using your life as an instrument of God's love. What do you love most about the work that you're doing at this point in your life?
It's so funny because I find myself um, in a different spot, but other things are still going. I'm really family uh, focused at this time, family focused and just on myself, so that I can keep kicking.
Mhm.
However, the other things that are going right now, and I want to make sure I don't deviate from your question. Ask me your question one more time, so I make sure I don't get off the point.
No, you're doing good. I just want to know, what do you love most about the work that you're doing in your life now?
What I love most about it, about what I'm doing right now, is that everybody's useful. Everybody feels useful, and they are. Everybody feels some measure of value. Everybody feels seen in some measure. Everybody's purpose and call is different, but I think that's the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the worst feeling is feeling like you don't matter
Mm-hmm.
or that you are invisible. And so I think the best thing about the things that I do is helping people be seen, feel valuable because they are, and allowing whatever measure of greatness that they have in them to be on display, you know, and I think that's fulfilling to me. That's
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. You've talked about family, and I know that you are a wife, and you have a son. Ayanna, who inspired you to be the great woman that you are today, the phenomenal woman that you are, the Proverbs 31 woman that you are today? Who
You,
inspired you to be this person?
you know God is my answer. You know God is my answer. And that's only because of the challenges faced beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
That's only because of the challenges faced beforehand. Um, Man, it wasn't great. It wasn't easy. It was heavy. It was dark. but but the hope that still existed even in those dark times, um, allowed me to push through and to be light now. Be light in this space because I had light, and even in the dark space, I feel like God was everything. And so my experience in the dark is now brought here in the light.
And I see that light, right? There's a halo above your head. I see it.
Ah,
You're you're an angel in the human form.
oh God, thank you.
You are.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Ayanna, I want to take the interview a little bit deeper. So we, as you all know, I created this podcast in honor of my dad who took his own life in a murder suicide. He murdered his wife and then moments later took his own life. But the days, months, and years leading up to the tragedy, my father struggled in ways that not everyone recognized as depression,
Mhm.
anxiety, suicidal thoughts, and things of that nature. And I want to know, Ayanna, if someone is listening or watching right now who is on the brink of destruction, they don't want to live anymore. They're having suicidal thoughts. They want life to be over. What words of encouragement would you give that individual to help them stay on the right path?
I would want them to know that there is more after this. You know, sometimes when we're in hard places, we're in dark places, it consumes our reality where it feels like it's the all in all. I would encourage somebody to just stay the course. This is just for a little while, just for a little while, and that God sees them, God knows them, and He's going to reward them for their faithfulness. Just stay the course.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would encourage them, not to allow what they feel to consume them. I would even encourage them because therapy is a great thing. Counseling is a great thing. And I know that it's just now become a thing that's okay to talk about. In previous generations, not so much. It wasn't so popular. But now, especially now, we're in a time where mental health is you don't have to be quiet about that. Everybody's going through some measure of something, but just know that there's more life after this.
Yes, there is. And if anyone watching or listening is feeling suicidal, you just need someone to talk to. You've gone through some experiences that have you wondering, will this pain ever end? The
Yeah.
answer is yes, but you're going to have to get help. You can't do it alone. If you can call 988, that's the suicide lifeline number, please dial 988 right now. You can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There are trained professionals there. They may not be able to help you solve the problem right now immediately, but they can take you by the hand, guide you to a path of help, and get you back over to the other side of enjoying and living your life. Because one thing I know about suicide is that it may end your pain and put your life to an end. But what it really does is it transfers all of that pain to your loved ones, to your coworkers, to your neighbors, to the people who love and care about you. We're the ones that have to carry the heavy potato sack on our back of hurt, of pain, of regret. So just know that you are loved, your existence on the planet Earth has a divine purpose, and that there are people here who can help you. Every 11 minutes in the United States alone, someone dies by suicide. Last year, 48,000 people, more than 48,000 people, died by suicide. And those numbers are continuing to grow. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for people ages 14 to 25, and it's the 10th leading cause of death overall. So we really need to let people know that suicide is not the answer, death is not the answer, and we're here to help you. I'm available. You can always reach out to me through any of my social media channels. I've had people do that before, and I've been successful at helping them not solve the problem that day because it's going to take time to get back to where you need to be. But just know that suicide is not the answer. So 988 is the suicide lifeline number. If you're not comfortable talking to the individual, you can text the word help to 241 241. You can text the word help, and there are people there who can help you get over to the other side. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Is it okay if I even extend myself as a counselor? Um,
Please.
if someone needs counseling, in addition to calling that suicide lifeline number or texting that number, if you're needing counseling, be it if it's just secular or Christian faith based, I do that as well. My number is 313-918-6844. You can call or text, whichever one. If you want to set up actual sessions to have a person walk with you to kind of get through and navigate through some issues, we can definitely.
Okay. Give us that number again, Ayanna.
313-918-6844.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So at this point, we're going to move on. I want to talk to you, Ayanna, about love. The name of this podcast is called Speaking of Love. The reason I named the podcast Speaking of Love is because my father once hosted a radio show, and his radio show was called Speaking of Sports. I'm going to see if I can pull the picture up here. His radio show was called Speaking of Sports many years ago. And so when he died, I wanted to do something to honor him. And I decided to create this platform, Speaking of Love, because I don't know anything about sports, but I know about love. I'm going to put his little picture here in the top corner. And so this is my dad here. He's hosting his radio show behind him. There's the big plaque on the wall, Speaking of Sports. But this show, Speaking of Love, was created in honor of him. And so the $1,000,000 question that I ask all of my guests who sit before me is, how do you define love, Ayanna?
I define love by sacrifice.
Mm.
There's no better way to show love than to sacrifice, be it if it's your time, if it's your whatever, whatever it is, we sacrifice for love.
Mhm.
To be there, to show up, to be present, and to even provide what may be needed in a moment. So I would define love by the sacrifices we make.
That's right. And I tell you, there's nothing more, there's no greater expression of love is to sacrifice, especially when you sacrifice your own needs and desires and you'll give your last to help someone. That
Yeah,
is definitely
yeah,
an exemplification of love.
yes, absolutely.
Definitely. So, Ayanna, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap up our interview?
No, I think we've emptied out. I just want to encourage somebody, wherever you are on your journey or in your path, to stay the course, to be reminded of, who you are, that you do have a purpose for your life, despite what you may be looking at right now. So
Mm.
just stay in there, stick in there. Get you some healthy community. Get you some people who can be in your corner to encourage you, hold you accountable, that will correct you in love. All of that good stuff. We need a little bit of all of it from a healthy community so that we can be solid people. We can be good solid people.
Yes, definitely. You're so correct because if you surround yourself with people who aren't in the best interest of you, you can kind of take on that personality and those habits and
Hmm.
that nature. So you have to be very careful who you associate with because that could be your stalling tactic right there. You
Yeah.
can sit back and look at your life and wonder, why is it that I'm not achieving my goals? Why am I still stuck? Why am I stagnant? Well, it could be
You're
before.
surrounded by procrastinators. You're surrounded by people who self-sabotage. So we got to look at our circle, and then that helps us to get a better perspective.
Yes. So I have a few fun questions here. I didn't send you these ahead of time, but they're just fun questions. Are you a coffee drinker or do you prefer hot chocolate?
I love coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you prefer Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
Pepsi. Oh, okay. When it comes to ice cream, would you prefer vanilla or chocolate?
Vanilla.
Yes, me too. Mexican food or Chinese food?
I like Mexican. I like them both, but Mexican is always bomb. No
Do you
matter what it is, it's like always good.
do you prefer books or movies?
Ah, now that's tough because I do like to read. That's tough.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I guess I'll say movies. I,
Good.
I guess I'll say movies. I do like both though a lot.
Okay. Do you like road trips or do you prefer to fly away in airplanes, international travel?
I would prefer to fly if it's over 2 hours. If it's over 2 hours, I would prefer to fly.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah. But I love road trips, just the scenery and enjoying the ride. But after so long, I'm over it.
Yes, yes. I'm just the opposite. I prefer road trips. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, awesome.
Well,
Awesome.
Ayanna, it has been a pleasure interviewing you here. We've learned a lot from you. If anyone wants to purchase your books, where do we find your books?
They can actually go to Amazon. They can go to Amazon. The last book that I wrote, Symptoms of Greatness, they can find on any platform.
Okay.
Yeah. So any platform for that book, but they can all be found on Amazon.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I have one more question for you before we leave.
Okay.
When the pages of your life are reviewed, Ayanna, and your mission here on the planet Earth is complete, what do you most want to be remembered for?
How I made everybody feel like somebody.
Yay!
I think that's it right there. Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, Ayanna. It has been a pleasure having you here. If anyone has missed any portion of this recording, it will live forever on YouTube, Facebook, and all the major podcast platforms. Speaking of Love is there. We have some people who have been tuning in and watching. I have my beautiful friend, Carrie Solo. Carrie Solo is also a suicide loss survivor like myself, and she watched our interview. She said, "That's beautiful. Me too." Let's see what her other comment says. Thank you, ladies, for the wonderful words of encouragement and support.
Yes. Thank you.
And then we have my fiance, Keith Carter Jr. He says, knowledge is power, caring is love. So thank you for the knowledge and caring to share it. You're welcome.
Amen. Yes. Amen.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for being here. This was my 138th episode of Speaking of Love. I want to let you all know that I am doing the podcast monthly now. I used to do it every Saturday, but life has gotten busy. My business has grown. So I am only doing it once a month. So I'll be back here next month, which is September. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. So I will be doing a few other interviews in addition to just the one time. So follow me back here next month. And love is the thing that makes all things beautiful. So go out and do something special today in the honor of love. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.